Levels like a true gaming fiend. She's got the skill, she's got the moves. She's the queen of the virtual scene. Gaming chick, oh wow. She's a gaming chick, ruling the gaming world with every click. Oh wow, she's the one to beat. She'll never back down or take defeat. Gaming chick.
Hello once again, all my chickadees. Game & Chick is back once again with another review. Before we get started, I want to give a big thank you to the folks over at Nintendo for providing me a review copy to make this review possible. Thank you so much. So now with that said, let's get on to it. Metal Slug is back, but in a different way, in a title that is developed and published by SNK. With the original Metal Slug Attack releasing in 2016 and shutting down in 2023 on mobile, SNK now decides 2024 is the year to bring us an offline version of the title. But was this a wise move bringing the tower defense game to a wider audience? Or should they have just stuck to a more traditional chaotic fun run and gun Metal Slug entry? Only one way to find out, so let's go! Gameplay. Right off the bat, I've got to say I've never been heavily into tower defense games or deck building titles. Sure, I've dabbled in the genre here and there, with several titles holding my enjoyment with trying to figure out which decks to roll with and monsters or characters to keep in the fold to determine what works best for specific scenarios I might need to prepare for. But again, while I've played them here and there, I never actively seek out the next big deck builder. Platformers, on the other hand, they're my obsession, and I'll stalk them out like I'm Michael Myers, being a creep and hiding behind trees and bushes, then just teleporting away.
He was destined to his own fate, his own day of reckoning with himself. The idea is that destiny is a very real, concrete thing that every person has to deal with. How does Samuel's view of fate differ from that of Costain? Rory?
Ma'am?
Answer the question.
Costain wrote that fate was somehow related only to religion, whereas Samuels felt that, well, fate was like a natural element, like earth, air, fire, and water.
That's right. Samuels definitely personified fate. In Samuel's writing...
But we're not here for platformers. We're here to see if SNK managed to fix Metal Slug from its mobile counterpart, and the results for me personally are quite mixed. Once more, you're part of the Falcon Squad, which is helped by the one and only Marco Rossi, and your goal is to stop the evil General Donald Morden and his rebel army before he pulls a Cobra and takes out all the G.I. Joes. Rebel Army? Sounds close enough to Red Ribbon Army. Might as well just get Goku to finish the job while we're at it. Little kid was a menace.
What do I care about seeing your dirty old fanny?
It is not dirty, you rude little boy!
Needless to say, it's par for the course with the game's storyline, and you shouldn't expect anything more from a Metal Slug title. It's not a bad thing in the very least, don't take it that way. It's just that Metal Slug as a series has never been one that takes itself too seriously. So it's all about the over-the-top, unserious nature that can help draw you into it. So it works. As originally stated, Metal Slug Attack Reloaded is a remastered or rather reimagined tower defense game of the original online gacha game. Uh-oh, gotcha. Yikes. Those usually bring along a pretty negative stigma. But not all is lost, as the original microtransactions of the previous title are not present here for the 2016 edition. But grinding upon grinding is, you will do hours of grinding to make up for that fact. While that can ruin some of the fun of the game, for me, growing up on RPGs, spending hours grinding EXP, with examples like I would level my character in Crawler's Nest on Final Fantasy XI and spend like 7 hours grinding out to 1 million EXP to level up once, only then to die and lose half of that EXP. So what did I do? I did it all over again. So yeah, grinding for a few hours here and there for this title, the game needs to know there's no danger in annoying me with that, because I am the danger. But while it's a great thing that microtransactions are a thing of the past in this game, it still demands a pretty big grind in order to advance you in the story. And even when you do advance in the story heading to Area 5 of the game, you're told you cannot advance until you complete other side stories, which take away your deck and leave you with starter deck units to summon, making you have to grind out more medals to use in the mode Call to Arms, where you use the gacha system to randomly get new units to use in your deck, then use MSP currency you've obtained in regular story missions to pay for each upgrade level for troops, any evolution from items dropped, build up your base, quicker deployment time upgrade, faster AP build upgrade, and then your secondary special attacks that let you summon a tank to rush the field to blow people up, heal the entire party, or allows everyone to use special attacks at once. Phew! Saying all of that makes me feel as winded as Ace Ventura. Do not go in there! But while it is tedious and semi-annoying, it does have quite an addicting effect on you, which is the revelation that this title needs to be played in short bursts of fun for a few hours here and there, and not done like me where I got mad that I lost in a level in the China section and proceeded to stop recording my playthrough and sit for like 4 hours grinding out one level, getting like over 1,000 MSP every 21 seconds, and then ending up with over 130,000 points to spend and maxing out everything until the game is like, yo girl, I'm gonna let you finish, but you need to level the base player level before you can even level anymore, so chill! Action mixed with tedium, that's the name of the game here. Why only those? Well, the story in Metal Slug Attack Reloaded is pretty paper thin. Like even our boy Paper Mario, or even Paper Me. The too long don't care version of this for people just wanting gameplay is simple. Marco and his crew fight against the rebel army with characters going back and forth with no real direction on if they want to strategically place the troops to win the day, or just rush in and use brute force to meet the enemy. Pretty similar to the way that Cloud and Barrett think when they want to infiltrate Shinra headquarters, only with less swear words. Through the game's story, each cutscene that plays is a prelude to the action of sending out droves of your fellow units to try to steamroll the enemy and blow up their base or take down the enemy boss. Same holds true for the other unlockable mode, called Another Story, which really, if we're being honest, doesn't add much depth, and is even more thin on story or plot than the main game story scenarios. But for me, much harder due to you losing your deck that you've built up for hours. Another Story? That sounds familiar though. So what of this gameplay I keep speaking of? Good question. Metal Slug Attack Reloaded's gameplay involves you as the player purchasing units using your action points in order to send them into battle for you and to take down anyone in your way. This is done by the constant refilling of the action point gauge that manually reloads over time or when enemies are killed, with the stronger the unit costing the most action points compared to other scrubs. Simple, right? On paper, yes. It's all about management and timing, and pick and choose when is the right time to sit and take damage so that you can summon your strongest army. That's really the core of the entire game right there, with you occasionally using a unique special skill from your units to do heavy damage, but in the end, you're still fighting wave after wave of enemy troops and hope that your power and your timing is enough to win, and the only real challenge in the combat is if you get more units from Call to Arms using medals, otherwise you'll never advance, even if you've grinded your heart out for the MSP. Grinding annoyances aside, choosing the right units to send out is a key strategy to use, because if you're facing a threat that fires long distances, sometimes it's best to send grunts who throw bombs. If there's an annoying ground enemy, pick something that flies, and if they have flying enemies, pick something that counters their strategy. By completing all of your missions in a timely fashion with higher ranks, you'll be awarded medals and tickets, with tickets upgrading both units and base stats as I touched upon earlier, while medals give life like Frankenstein to his mother to the game's gacha mechanics, letting you roll the dice and hopefully get a rare character. This is actually harder than it sounds due to there being like over 300 characters to potentially obtain or cycle through, so it can become a bit confusing trying to determine who does what in a timely fashion. But there also lies the problem, with the focus now more locked onto the gacha system and less about microtransactions. You're now exposed to the cold, hard truth.
Nobody cares but you.
No, not the one you're thinking of. The one I'm referring to is the frustratingly painful difficulty spike that happens out of nowhere that leaves you scratching your head and questioning the game's balance system. No, I'm not about to go into an IGN rant of, the game is hard, old school hard, and then rip on it for 10 minutes and then say, it's got a little something for everyone after that. But it is hard, and grinding really doesn't alleviate that. At the very least, during the tedium, you aren't subjected to just using boring old human soldiers at the time. The more you use the gacha system, the more unit types you'll be able to obtain, with unit types pertaining to regular soldiers, mummies, and even aliens. And then even this huge guy I got and used just because he looks crazy. He barely fits on the screen and has one big old eye. World's ugliest bro, but he's my best friend because he does super damage, so he's invited to the pizza party at Peter Piper. But doesn't that make things more confusing? You're fighting all of these rebel armies to save the world, but here, let's send out a giant slug like we're Tsunade from Naruto, or a weird alien ship that has protection ball projectiles, or a samurai mech. Like, what? But to be fair, would it really be as interesting to play without them? I don't think it would, and I for one welcome our new insect overlords. Beyond the story's more tedious nature, there is a multiplayer for both local and online battles. But if you end up against people who have no life like me, and end up against a player who loves more grinding than Tony Hawk, then you're going to end up fighting against someone who has a god-level tier deck that beats the crap out of you within seconds, and that's no good. So to combat that, either take your beating and get good, bro, get no life and join us in Grindfest, or your third option, stay away from it and be saved a headache. Overall, at the end of the day, Metal Slug Attack Reloaded is a very mixed bag for me. On the one hand, it nails the pixelated art style that is well in line with the Metal Slug series, and it looks fantastic. But there's also a very big roster to choose from and make use of, game runs smooth, and even with all the chaos going on with the Nintendo Switch version, there's no frame drops or lag going on, and the game itself being potentially over 10 hours or more depending on how much you grind out. In online multiplayer, that does allow you to test your deck against other players while you hope for a competitive match. Another story mode that allows for a multitude of cutscenes from each faction's perspective and harder boss fights, etc. Those are all good things. However, one can't push aside the tedious nature of this game either. That one being me. Did I have fun playing this title? Sure, I can say so. But I also have to factor in that a lot of this might not be the cup of tea that people want to drink either. With strong focus on gacha luck system to get stronger unit types, which is never a guarantee you'll get them, a difficulty spike that has you max level early on at level 10, maxed bases and support at level 10, all characters equipped, fully upgraded and evolved, and still lose within 30 seconds to an enemy is pretty absurd, and this doesn't even change at level 20 plus either. The levels of grinding make you feel at times that you are making no progress, and that's not something that's fun for the average player. On top of that, the main story is also objective locked. So if you're grinding and fighting your way through the main story and enjoying it, the game then tells you, sorry, you can't advance unless you beat a full chapter level in another story mode. With each chapter having 8 or 9 or even 11 milestones, and harder than the actual main campaign mode, which also strips you of your deck. Big yikes! So how do I judge this? Well, on the one hand, if you're a hardcore Metal Slug fan, regardless of genre, you're more than likely going to love this. But if you're a normal player, chances are you are going to get very bored and very annoyed really fast. Keeping both of those points in mind, even with the title only being $10, which usually saves games with my verdicts, I gotta say, I can't really recommend this one to people who aren't big fans of the series, sad to say. So with all this having been said, my verdict is clear. Game Chick says...
It is a little something for everyone.
No, I'm just kidding. My bad. For real this time. So with all this having been said, my verdict is clear. Game Chick says wait.
Is a tough game. Old school tough.
Mission complete.